Okay. Jules, how are you this evening?
I am living. I am healthy. Uh, Maybe a little depressed, according to my friend, but otherwise, I'm doing pretty well.
All right,
Uh,
so when it comes to the depressed part, two notes. One note, okay, three notes. One note, everybody's depressed. Second note, just what you need is just someone to talk to, just get with the shit that's in your head out. Third, this is word from my mom. She got told she was depressed when she went to the doctor, and she was like, "Oh, I'm depressed. I don't have time to be depressed. I gotta go to work. Fuck that
right,
shit. Just move."
right.
No, bro, everyone's depressed.
Yeah, especially now. I mean, shit. This time has been so hard on people. Like I recently just lost. There's an artist that I'd been friends with. I wasn't that close to them. I had other friends who were closer, but they had recently overdosed. So like,
Mm.
people are taking it way harder than I am for sure. Um, but like I don't really feel depressed. It was mostly just like, man, I don't want to work. I don't want to play video games. Like I just want to like exist for a bit.
Somebody also said that means you could either be sleepy or tired, bro. Like you might.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you drank some water? You need to go drink some water. Have you ate some food lately? It's
Yeah.
that kind of. But no, I feel it because there are times where it kicks in for me all the time. Like then
Mhm.
it's like those moments where you have to decide, all right, am I gonna go bump some Drake? Am I gonna play piano? Because I'm an ex emo kid at heart, so like just playing some piano for like 3 hours straight and just being sad is something I like to do.
Yeah. Although whenever I hear emo, I usually think of just like, why doesn't my cat want to, you know,
Yeah, there you go. You talking about that's eighth grade, but nah, yeah, I
right.
feel you.
My dad said that I should stay home. Fuck him.
Pretty much. You got to your punk rock, bro. Your punk rock era. There you go. That's what it was. It was all that happy sounding, upbeat tunes, and
Yeah,
everyone saying
pop
the most
punk.
edgiest shit. That's exactly what it was.
But like a lot of the like my reaction initially, because like back in the days where like that was actually like super in vogue, I did not fuck with it at all. Nowadays, I can go back and be like, okay, like it's kind, I can kind of see it, but like, um, some of the way that like they would sing their shit and like the way that they would approach everything was just like I like all the stuff going on in the instrumental, but I fucking hate what's going on with the lyrics and vocals. Like, because when you understand them, you're like, okay, that's kind of cool, I guess. But I didn't appreciate music the same way I do now back then.
Yeah.
Back then, it was just like I have an iPod and I pirated a bunch of music, and I didn't even like the first iPod I had was one of the Nano ones. You remember the little
I remember
silver
the
thin
Nanos.
ones? Yeah. I had one of those. This fool fucking basically took it from me in ninth grade and like basically just like jacked my shit right on the spot. So I'm like pretty upset about that. And my friend gave me the exact same one, just a little shittier. The middle button, you have to like press it a certain way to get it to work. So that was like how you would get music, and it was like better than tapes and CDs because
Yeah.
those you had to like share with people or shill out some money for it. But
Yeah. I still carry my classic iPod to this day. That is my go-to thing. I I just refound it after not having it for about a year because I had
mhm.
this crazy part. I had it in my backpack. It was with me this whole time. I just didn't use it for a whole year. But the point being, bro, like the classic iPod, I have so many songs. It's my go-to. I'll take that before I take a phone. Like screw a phone. Everything. My heart is in that thing, dude.
You got like thousands and thousands of listens on
Yes.
the tracks in there.
Yes.
Uh,
There's that on top of I can't I almost want to go find it so I can just tell you the actual number. I know there's like over 5,000 songs on there. It's crazy.
yeah. Was it one of the video ones or was it like the
Yes.
OG one? Okay, yeah. Those were like
One of the
the
video ones.
pinnacle. The absolute pinnacle of like iPods was like the iPod video.
Dude, you know what's crazy? They put games on that thing. There's
Yeah,
like
I
there's
remember.
a build break game on there where you like in a circle and you can like
Yeah.
bounce the ball back. That is I thought that was the craziest thing. iPod was really trying to do some shit.
Yeah. I mean, shit. That's one thing. Like, then they also had like the parachute game, which is like an OG one that you could. that they like did a knockoff of, kind of.
I don't know the parachute one.
It may not have been. It was on the Nano for sure. I don't know if it was on the video, but yeah. I mean, those little games were like how I got through going to school every day. Like I would always take the bus, so like I needed something. Like I didn't
Yeah.
read books like that. I needed some mindless shit to do.
Was
That's where I got really good at Tetris. Was like on this crappy phone. I
it
would have
one
to
of
like
the old, like the old brick, the one that you could throw through a black hole and it'll probably come out still in one piece?
no, not the Nokia. That has
Yeah.
Snake. And those had this really fun shooter game, like this side-scrolling shooter where you'd be like a little
Yeah,
ship,
bro.
and then
That's
like
my shit.
you could shoot fishes at people, or no, maybe that was a boss. Either way,
That was a boss. It was a boss. I
yeah,
played the hell out of that
fuck that
game. I
boss.
finally beat it. I finally beat it.
Should download an emulator of it.
Dude, it's crazy because like that's right in my childhood. Now I remember I was one of those kids. You got any games on your phone?
My mom had that one, so like that's what I would play with, and like
Yeah.
and then shit evolved, but we always had like an N64 at home. Like I grew up on that because my dad knew some journalists who were in
Hmm.
video games, and we would just get like loads and loads of like random fucking games. Most of them sucked, but some of them were like really,
Gems.
really like unique. Yeah, hidden gem type stuff.
What'd you play?
Well, I played the living shit out of like stuff like Ocarina and Smash Bros and Mario Kart, but like there were some weird ones in there, like Mischief Makers. Gauntlet Legends was a fucking bop. Um, Donkey Kong was fun. We borrowed that. That and Gauntlet we borrowed from our neighbor.
Okay.
And then what else was really good? There was like a couple others. Donkey Kong. There was a game like Donkey Kong. I never got to really play much of Banjo Kazooie. That game
Yeah,
was like
I
the
want to
best
play
part.
that one because it was heavily like music is in its roots, and I want to
Oh,
play the hell out of that.
oh yeah. Like that's one of those games by Rareware where like you can go into different parts of the level. You go underwater, the music changes to like the underwater
Yeah,
version of the same song, and every level is a different version of the same song.
I think that's fire. That's that stuff that makes you go, okay, I want to make that. I want to make
Or
something similar to that.
mm-hmm. What
There's
about
what
go ahead.
my well short little insert story here. My mom, like she basically what was that? She bought a Nintendo 64 because she was always wanting to like play games and whatever. There were like
Mm.
8 games, so I didn't play a lot of N64 games, but I had like Extreme G, Glover.
Glover.
Um,
That game was fucking
yeah,
terrifying for some reason.
yeah.
I don't know why. It was so fucked up in my head.
But it was so good for what it was. Like it was such a
Right.
good game. It was such
It's
a
like
good game.
it's almost like a meme these days, but like it actually was pretty fun. Like it was weird, but it was fun. Same with Gex. Like Duncan
Yeah,
always
that
kept
was a
spawning
weird
weird
ass game.
games. But like having played Glover and like I just remember like I hated that little crystal ball. That shit sucked.
Yeah,
And then
because every time you use it, it fucking cracked.
right, and then you could also pop your fucking bouncy ball and you're just like, what the fuck do I do now? Like this I'm just done. It's over.
Did you know they had cheat codes for that game?
I believe so, but I never like owned it, so like I didn't get to really, play around
Ah,
with stuff.
they had a ball that was like it was like a bouncy ball, but it was smaller. It was
Yeah.
smaller. It was about the same size as a little silver gold, like the silver one.
Yeah.
And it was a power bouncy ball, so you use it and you can propel yourself to higher places.
Okay, so it's
And
like the moon bounce.
yeah, yeah, it was like the moon bounce, but you could use it everywhere.
Oh yeah, I also played the shit out of Tony Hawk. That
That's
game
a
was
good one.
fun. That the second one, not the first, but the second one.
Tony, so I played my Tony Hawk experience is from a demo. This PS2. I remember it came with the PS2. If it's not Tony Hawk, what am I thinking about? It's a skater game where you would get something. Point is, I'm after having a bubble and a flashback at the same time. But
Right.
yeah, those games were definitely the dopest things that ever happened to just early childhood. I remember we
Hmm.
got a Raspberry Pi once, and it had all those games loaded up on it. It had N64 games, PS1. I don't think I had any PS2, but it was just it relished in all the old games, and Tony
Right.
Hawk was on there. Yeah, it's
Did
good
you like know
stuff.
somebody who hacked that, or did you buy it?
I did. Well, I do know someone that hacked that. I do
Okay,
know
for
someone that
sure.
hacked that, and it was good stuff. Like
Yeah, no, for
the
real. You put an emulator on it, and like then it's just whatever you want to download.
exactly.
Mhm.
Have you dabbled in it yet?
I mean, not with like Raspberry Pis, but like I've definitely hacked my fair share of like consoles. But like the consoles itself. So like the first thing that I really, really like tore apart was a PSP.
Hmm.
Like I've hacked every PSP that I've borrowed from friends. I've hacked. They didn't really mind, but like what I would do is I made like a Pandora battery because you can buy them, but I learned on forums that you can just make one if you remove a pin. Now, this was before I knew shit about like soldering or any of that. So like I took a safety pin and I
Uh
went onto like because the batteries have like a circuit board on them with a little black chip, and you would remove the solder, the little metal bit that connects one of the pins to the chip, and that basically is like telling it like prevents you from backdooring essentially.
Okay.
And I removed it, and this like puff of lithium smoke comes up. It's super toxic to breathe in, but I'm just like, whoa. And I look at the pin, and it's like all melted down, and I'm like, oh. But it worked, and I went through all the motions. Every PSP had like a different way to hack it. So like one required like having the disc of Liberty City Stories. Another
Mm,
required like a certain other backdoor. And I would just load all sorts of PSP games. I put Game Boy Advance games on there. I tried a
that's
whole
cool.
gang of shit. I also hacked Homebrew is a lot easier. You can do that on like a Wii. That was also pretty fun.
I know about that one. Actually, I had a homie that would do that for the PSP games because he was
Hmm.
always trying to get the final mixes of Kingdom Hearts and Dissidia, and that's what he would do that on. And then someone came over with a if not a broken, what do they call that? Jailbroken? Yeah, they would call it
Something like that.
jailbroken. A jailbroken Wii, and it was like one of the craziest shit to me because I was like, look, you can do anything you want on that.
There's two things you can do with a Wii. One is a soft mod. The other was a hard mod. Hard mod is where
Okay.
you like actually fuck with the system, and that lets you play Wii games from burning it on a disc. But the other way was just a regular homebrew, and it's similar to a jailbreak. They mostly refer to jailbreaking with like iPhones and shit, but
Yeah.
like with that, it was pretty simple. You would like do some shit with an SD card, and then you would have the ability to like play GameCube games and stuff like
Mm.
that. So like you could hack it for GameCube games just with a soft mod. That was my favorite part. I got to play like uh Path of Radiance, that Fire Emblem game,
Yeah.
because like I'm not going to get a copy under $60 even today secondhand. Like those that game is like super valuable right now in the flesh. But uh but yeah, like that's what you do. If your homie did that, that's actually pretty funny.
So I I I, I want to find it again because it's one of those things where if you bust that out at the party, I mean, pretty much you won the party. I don't know if people win the party or win parties, but if you ask me, that's winning the party.
Not this year.
But like I remember there was a story about a gentleman that did the similar concept to a cell phone. So it's like he had the ability to use the cell phone
Hmm.
without having a provider.
Hmm.
And I don't remember the exact details, but that was always one of those things where it's just like that's something I would like to do. Something where you basically are off the grid and you have control over it. It's like basically sending your own satellite to space, so you have your own internet and you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about dealing with any other shit. Those are the things that I want to just dabble with. I love that you're doing engineering like that. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun. It's never been like work for me though. It's been like goofy little fucking projects. The first, I still have it. I've got this MIDI keyboard, the Akai MPK Mini. You've
Yeah,
seen those? I'm sure
I
you've
have
seen
one.
some like, okay, yeah, you've seen some bedroom producers that are just like using these things, right? Um, my buddy buys it off of some dude who like doesn't, he stopped making music. He kind of gave up, and he sold it to my friend for $50.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
and so I was like, you know, just getting into FL. This is like 2015 or something. I'm just getting into like FL for the fifth or sixth time because every time I'd open it and be like, the fuck do I do? Like
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. So I would just like close it, uninstall it, pirate it again, reinstall it, uninstall it, and rinse and repeat. And I borrow his MPK and it like unlocks this whole thing. I'm like, oh shit, I can do all this stuff with it. But I'm like, okay, after like messing around with Citrus or whatever, I like
Hmm.
I don't unplug it, but I put it up on the desktop and I like open up Dark Souls 2 or whatever I was playing at the time. And then like I get up to use the restroom and I knock it over the side of the thing because my knee hits the cable and it just rips the cable out of it. 'Cause these things are
Mm.
made like shit. Like the MPK Mini 80 was like that wire is not safe. If it just gets tugged hard enough, it'll come right off because the way it goes in is like, let's say this is the MPK, the wire goes in and then directly to the board. So like
Mm.
it's just wire, and the only thing keeping that wire connected is just a little bit of like metal, like a thin bit of metal. So I ripped it off by accident, and I'm like, hey buddy, I just bought you the next version up. I fucked up. It'll be here in like a week or two, so I'll give it to you. But I'm gonna keep the busted one.
Yeah.
And I ended up like finding some YouTube videos, DIY, boom, boom, boom. Just connected the three USB because USB uses three wires. I just connected that right back to the board and like wrapped it around the board, the circuit board, a couple times because someone was like, "This thing is not sturdy. Just do this," and you've made it sturdier. And it's like, okay, I like upgraded my MPK a little bit. But yeah, that's like most of the engineering that I've been doing, where it's like, you know, just out of necessity in some ways, and other ways, like for video games, like
Well, that's the
just
best
really,
kind.
yeah,
That's how all the greats started off. I just have a keen interest, or there's just something that they were dabbling in. What was that? Elon Musk took a fascination with building rockets, so he just started taking things apart and ordering little parts and breaking them
mhm.
apart and putting them together himself, making little bottle rockets out of it, and starting with that. So yeah, that's how you start, man. You find an interest and you just start
He
doing
was
it.
he was doing shit since he was a kid. Like he was making video games too when he was a kid, and then like, you know, moon vaulted into like XPay, PayPal stuff, and like
Yeah,
that. That's where like I can't see myself be having that kind of trajectory. Like, you know, like I don't think he was like by any standards like disadvantaged as a youth, but like I'm sure there was like different support systems that like help people to
yeah,
really kind of catapult. And like, you know, sometimes you just don't know what you want to do, and I think most people are in that boat. Like most people don't really know what they're good at in a way, and like if someone tries to put you in that box, it don't really work like that.
yeah.
So
I get you. It's actually a rare thing. I have plenty of friends that, and it kind of sometimes it boggles me. It's kind of like the concept of, if you know how to draw and you know how to do art,
mm,
it's hard to explain to someone. It's simple. It's just lines and circles and shit. And for them, it's a whole other thing of like, I don't know what I want to draw with it. It's a weird combination. It's a weird dance of, how do you explain creativity when it's an imagination kind of thing? It's a thing on the inside of you where you just tell someone to go be random and they don't really know how to just go jump into it. I know it's a weird analogy, but that's how I see it. It's kind of like
mm.
it's a like, how do you go find something you're passionate in if you don't know what the hell you're passionate in? You know, it's
Right,
just a
yeah,
weird
yeah,
thing.
exactly. Or even not even just like when you're not even just art, like um I dabble with programming too, but like not to the degree that I could like jump in and get a job in it, but mostly like it's hard to know, like sometimes you're making a mistake in the way you've structured something, and you'll never know
Excuse me.
how to find the thing you were looking for because it's just like you don't even know what to look for in the first place. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you need to have a pointer here, but you wouldn't know what a pointer is if you were just kind of like riffing it. You were just doing it, you know, freestyle. Uh, and so, yeah, I think a lot of that applies to like things like music too, because like um, I was riffing it for a long time. I had some classical training, so like melodies made sense to me. Harmonies were like pretty easy to grasp onto. Tempo and all that was like, I
Yeah.
learned all that shit. Not that I wanted to. It was because like my mom kept making me go to piano lessons, and like by the end of it, I was kind of like my professor, I don't know what to call her, instructor, something, knew it was time when like I was kind of like playing the piano like this, just so
I feel
unenthusiastic.
it.
But hey, look at me now. I'm like composing and shit. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if you don't know what to look for, you oftentimes aren't gonna like really break the mold until like like you need to know what a good example is Picasso, right? Like this
Okay.
dude was studying fine art, like fine art, really like refining the look of someone and like capturing their realism and all that. But he spent years and years doing all that before he learned like, okay, like now I know what rules to break for it to be tasteful.
Yeah.
So like I'm not saying that Picasso is my favorite artist, but like he's just an example of someone who like, in a way you just set a trend by like you find the right rules to break and then everyone else goes, "Oh shit, I see what they're doing. I should do that too." Because then they want to be part of the rule breaking
Yeah.
until like it's saturated and boring.
Exactly. Then you have to go and push the envelope again.
Yeah, exactly. Just more envelopes to push.
It's crazy that you mentioned that, and actually, I'm finding myself in a weird place where I want to make sure I capture all of the fundamentals so I
Mm,
can then flip them on their head, basically.
yeah.
And like tempo for me, I I knew tempo because I had felt it. It's just one of those things. I wanted to learn how to play guitar at an early age. Never got to that till later. It was
Same.
I thought orchestra was where I was gonna play the guitar early. I was like, oh, string instruments, guitar. I played violin and viola for the like longest, and then we did a little rock band thing, and I finally got to guitar. But but those experiences, it's what helped me learn things today. Like right now, I want to learn how to read and write music because I've always been a play by ear or whatever the hell you call that. I bet there's a term for that. If you just play shit by ear,
Mm.
or the melody just form and you just make it. Excuse me, I'm notified. Like my nose is stopped up like hell, and like I'm like semi trying to smile to breathe sometimes. It's like, but anyway, like the point is, shit, I had to just get that out. Anyway, well, point is, point is though, it's like as a kid, I always looked at it as like, okay, yeah, it's cute to learn how to read and write, but I don't do that. That's not my style. I don't appreciate it yet. It's
Yeah,
crazy how
that's
you have to
cool.
appreciate it. Because now I have a brand new appreciation for it. It's just like, okay, if the world is over and I don't have anything, I don't have any tech, but there's a melody in my head. If
Mm,
I have the ability to write it, then I could essentially just put it on a wall for some aliens to come find and then make and listen to that shit. So
I see.
that that's why I want to learn those fundamentals. It's
Yeah.
important.
The legacy aspect kind of like is what has kind of it's been a bit of a driver for me in music where like a friend of mine who he's in the army now, but he said something that was kind of profound, which is like it's a situation where it's like Patrick, where like occasionally he has these moments of like deeply profound thought, but for the most part he's just a fucking moron sometimes.
Yeah,
And most of the time, like,
that's me. No, I'm just
but I have a homie that's like that, and like he like said like your art is forever. Like, you can be long in the ground, and like whatever you put on those like servers and shit is gonna outlive you for a long time, depending on where it's saved. So
yeah,
like, if people ever remember you, they can go back and they'll find that stuff. Now, the legacy you leave is entirely dependent on the amount of impact you made while you were on the planet. Like,
yeah,
um, I can't say that because like boomers always talk about how like the great musicians or the great this or that. That was before the internet, right? Like we didn't have SoundCloud back in the 1970s and shit. Like you had records, and of course, people only really knew about a handful of bands because your access to music was so small. Now
Yeah,
you can be a fan of like every little rapper in on the planet if you really wanted to,
yeah,
and like there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, like it's like so it's not, and it's not to anyone's fault other than like the nature of it, but it's so oversaturated with like content that I find that it's a similar situation because like the stuff that people are listening to is bubbling to the top, but it tends to be like this deep ocean of just like shit going on, and everyone's
yeah,
just seeing what's on the surface because like none of them, they're not the water creatures that are that are in the water, right? Like the general population who doesn't make music or who doesn't really try to like learn about what's happening in music, they just see like the seaweed floating on the top or like the
yeah.
fucking pond scum and shit. Like they don't see all the critters under the water. um which is like a weird way to like talk about musicians, but like
But
in a
it's a
way,
beautiful way to talk about it at the same time.
right?
It's
Yeah, I mean, it's a metaphor, really. But yeah, I mean, I think that's where platforms like Audius come in too, where it's like the problems that are with SoundCloud is not so much that um it's not that you can't post music there and get noticed, it's that you likely won't get noticed. It's
yeah,
very like it's more likely that no one's going to see your content um, than if you post to places like Audius that have like independent uh, like computers rifling through your stuff and just sending that to people constantly. Like
yeah,
that's so important in art where like people are only gonna like what's in front of their face. They don't really go looking for it. That's why people like Spotify so much. Is like
yep.
just fucking feed
Stuff
of shit. I don't
anything
really.
at you.
I'm not gonna look for it. I'm just gonna let Jesus take the wheel, or
Yeah.
like algorithm Jesus take the wheel. I never had a
What's
Spotify
crazy
though.
about that is that's that's exactly what happens because it's crazy because it's highly saturated.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I started thinking about when it comes with all that is now it's up to the artist to decide how are you going to create a different experience to make sure that you're not just a part of that ocean. But because I like to think of it like this: there's timeless pieces, there are time pieces, and then it's just music people just make because it's just I just made some music. I wanted you to
Mm-hmm.
like it when it came on, and like Michael Jackson can play his music in any era. I feel like that about his music. You can play his
Mm-hmm.
music in almost any era, and but then like don't get me wrong, Drake is a boss, but I don't see Egyptians getting freaky to that shit. No, I'm just-
mm-hmm.
but it's just it's a weird thing. Like you have to create other levels with it. I know for for one, like for me, I want to figure out how to tie my podcast to like my story with my music, and
Right.
in some form or fashion, I like to think that I'm my character's dad when I'm doing the podcast. So it's a weird combination of things, but I'm
Yeah, you
creating my
definitely.
own experience with it.
Right. Yeah,
It's
like
it's
it's
just,
always an extension of yourself in a way. Because how much can you really be yourself when you still have to kind of put on a face and like an act a little bit? Like I like the people that are really like themselves, but you always
yeah,
still have to go like me plus X. Like,
exactly.
yeah.
Like this podcast, like I had to start. Like I had to get over, and I'm still getting over this
Mm.
before I put the little bot in. I'm saying, "Hey, how you doing?" It's like, "What's up? What's up?" And then you come back on, and you got to say, "Hey, how you doing?" again. Like I hate that shit with a passion. But it's a it's a thing. Like how do you want to start? You can just go into it. Yeah, you can do that. It's just but you get it. It's like there are certain things that you decide to do to I don't know, man, because I could just sit here this whole time and just be like, "Hey, man, how you doing?
Man,
You
yeah,
you like music school?
no, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what's up.
I make music. Yeah.
You like piano? You know, but I'd much rather I'd much rather show you that I'm passionate about what I'm talking about. You know, just I'd much rather be into it because have fun. Like that's my thing. It's like I try to make sure I'm having as much fun and not bullshit. Like if there's something I don't like, I'm gonna tell you. I had one person come on. She had a very her world was this was a weird world she created, but you know, but you know, it's just like you just have fun. At the end of the day, I'm just enjoying it and learning so much. That's what you got to do because you're not in this mud for anything. You're running your own thing. So just have fun and enjoy that shit.
Yeah, I mean it's rare that you get to have like work that you like doing, and more I feel that art has always been a place for that. Like if you're not enjoying being an artist, like you're in here for the wrong reason, right? Like I see a lot of people come into this art like the art field thinking like I'm here because like I'm in it for me, but they're in it for themselves in a different way. Like they're in it because it's their ego driving them, or
Yeah.
like because they feel pressured by society to be an artist, because they see artists that they admire and they want to like emulate them. Like I've seen plenty of like, I mean, I can't call them nobodies because like they've, they put up numbers sometimes, but like there's people that you see that are a flash in the pan and you just have to wonder like, you know, they got there because they were supported by something else. And
Yeah.
I think about this one interview because like I used to do journalism for celebrities and stuff.
Oh
And
shit.
I would transcribe audio every now and then for interviews that my boss would go do. And one of them was this Jamie Foxx interview. And I'm like, I'm going through it. And like, that was probably the most interesting interview I've, I've gotten to work on. Cause most of them is
Hmm.
just like fucking okay, we get it. Like, yeah, you like being this guy in this movie, whatever. Because like most actors don't have shit to say, but
Because
Jamie
they're
Foxx,
cloning.
yeah, sort of. But they're not. They don't write the piece. They just feel the emotion and they do like the motions that are like they're just following the track, right? Like they're not the actual creative mind that like really can explain why things are the way they are in a movie or script, but nobody cares about that, and so that's why we always have to cover the actors and actresses. But
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx had said something that was like really cool to me. He was like talking about how his manager would always say to him like, Jamie, look, like you have something incredible. Like you are a great actor. There's a lot of people in this industry that don't have that and are here because they're supported by like an external source or like
Hmm.
something else is supporting them. They're not like there's nothing really that special. Like a great example is like whenever you see the son or daughter of like a really famous writer or whatever, like artist, actor, so on, they're it's not that they're like bad people or they're devoid of character or any of that. Like people are complex, but it's more that like they're supported and doing this because most likely they don't really feel like they know what they want to do, but they
Yeah.
know that like their parents have these connections, so like this is a job, this is like, I feel purpose from doing this. So
Yeah.
no shade to like the people that are there, but at the same time, like fuck them. Like I don't give a rat's ass about what they make or what they're a part of, as long as like they're exceptional, and
Exactly.
that
I
applies
I
to all
I
sorts of
want
art.
to feel it. The crazy part with that is I'm currently working on some music, and one
Hmm.
of the big lyrics in the songs that I'm doing right now it's just the realization of being a tree in the forest.
Hmm.
It's just like you're that tree in the forest basically. You might be the shit, but if there's no one there to appreciate it, it's just some weird. It's just that's a thing, and I got I don't know why this episode I got to keep bringing up shit my mother said, but like as a young artist drawing shit, my mom told me something one time. She said, artists don't get paid until they're dead, and it's like it was one of those things that your shit sometimes might not get appreciated. One of the lines that I was basically talking about while working on the song was it was like the difference between me and someone else might be they have friends. And that's what it turns out to. I know a couple of gentlemen who've made it pretty fucking far with their music,
Right.
and they're not the greatest. It's just because they kept getting up doing it every single day. They had a good
Exactly.
work ethic, and they met the right person. That's just what it is. You just it's yeah. I mean, 9 times out of 10, all of us are probably shit. But you keep doing it, you make connections, you hang out with people, and next thing you met enough people to where it's just like, oh, look at you.
hmm
You got something going for yourself.
I think to your mother's point, yes and no. So like there are plenty of artists who have become 1,000 times more successful than they ever have in death. Um, but in this day and age, like I mean, shit, you can be a multimillionaire from being an artist. So like, um, you
Yeah.
just you just have to like be unstoppable in a lot of ways, and like, um, I don't want to be the same kind of artist that people like say like The Weekend or like other people who have like kind of stepped on a lot of people to get to where they are. And like I can't knock the hustle, but at the same time, like I just don't want to do it that way, you know? Like
Yeah.
if I'm gonna work with producers and stuff, like as long as they're not pieces of garbage, I'm gonna, give them credit where credit's due. Like
Yeah.
the whole House of Balloons project was done by this whole like producer Canadian dude. He was just some random producer that like ended up kind of like fading into obscurity. And the whole reason anybody knows who The Weekend even is because of that project.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Drake's producers all over it and like all these other people are like gushing about it. And it's like a good, sexy project, right? Like how many people have had sex to like that music, right?
Not
Especially
me.
back in
I
like
I,
the
I will say House of Balloons is not my favorite Weekend album.
it's not. It's not that good of an album. Trilogy is a great like project though, like because it has House of Balloons in it, but there's other good shit in there.
Yeah.
But like I've definitely and talked about it with other people. I've definitely fucked to certain songs in those in that like slew of music that came out with that producer, and
Yeah.
like it's just one of those things where like you are an artist to a degree, but like everybody's got a side hustle and you're not an artist forever. If you are exclusively an artist and making a ton of money from that, yes, like the ball is in your court and you just got to keep playing.
Yeah.
Like and you keep playing till, you retire really. Like and I admire that in a lot of people like major artists that have just, they got to that point and they stayed up there. That's always respectable. Uh can you hear me? I lost you.
Yo
Okay, you're back.
yo.
All right, cool.
Okay. You've now met the real reason why we all hate the virtual reality because you never know when you're gonna get
Yeah, I
disconnected.
can't do that to people.
But crap. Where were we? Where were we?
I was just talking about. I was just kind of riffing about like how, like once you have the ball, you're like you have to roll and like you get to a level, and if you stay up there, it's really admirable because it's like everybody wants to knock you off the top.
Yeah.
You've got and also like from the top, there's only looking down too. So like when you get up there, you should also be like hella respectful of like all the fucking people that you might think are peasants and shit. Because like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you were one of those peasants. Like you're still just like them in a way. Like,
Yeah.
but also what ends up happening is I think that artists and entertainers start to lose touch with their roots. Like an example is like Jerry Seinfeld is not funny
Mm.
anymore. You know, he used to be funny when he was taking the train. You know, because he could relate. He could talk about relatable stories. And now you just have like this dude who's like complaining that like, oh, the planes are trans now, and you're like, the fuck are you saying?
I will say the funniest thing that I have heard him said was, "You don't have to tell me I'm funny. I know I'm funny." It was something like that. But it was a weird because I hadn't appreciated Jerry Seinfeld as a kid because for me Seinfeld was always like, "All right, it's time to go to sleep." Like that was always what
It's always
Seinfeld
on.
was for me.
Mm.
Yeah, and because it was that and Mash, it was Mash and Seinfeld. It was like that's when you know it's time to go to sleep. But
Yeah, that's what the boomers would fall asleep to probably.
but I've watched some like I've watched some old Seinfeld now, and it's like the jokes that are there. They're funny. They're
Yeah.
fucking funny. I have to say that. Like I don't necessarily like laugh my ass off, but it's one of those things where you go, that's clever. I fuck with that.
Or like I recognize a situation like that. That's what makes
Yeah.
George so funny in that show is because like Larry David is a funny and weird person. Like and George Costanza's character is Larry David. If you put it together, you're like, oh, if you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's basically just like
Yeah.
a continuation of George Costanza.
I just started Curb Your Enthusiasm. The
Good
first
show.
episode had me fucking just rolling.
Because he's like he's the type of person, and I really relate to it, where it's just like you see something happen, you know you shouldn't do anything, you shouldn't poke the bear, but you really want to because you're like, I mean, it's right there.
Yeah.
Can I do it? There's a really good episode. I don't know which season, but it's like he's eating food with like one of his actor friends or whatever at a restaurant, and he's like saying that waitress is pretty attractive, and you know his friend's like, "No, Larry, you don't shit where you eat."
Yeah.
That one's a really funny one because he like you know he's warned, and then he goes and does just that, and like I've been in those situations plenty of times, not so
I
much
can
like
relate so much.
yeah, like I've had a situation and it ended up causing me a lot of grief, but I got into like this relationship, but before I even started that, my friend was just like, no, no, don't do it, no. And I was like, yeah, but the boobies. And like you know, lo and behold, when you follow through with things that like like your close friends are warning you, like, do not do it. But you know, honestly, where some of those paths lead you become actually really interesting as well, because like although like I had had this horrible experience with a person, and like it brought out the worst in me, I got to see this horrible side of this person I never would have seen that with, and like now I know not only to like stay away from them, but I'll even warn my friends like, yo, maybe you should stay away too. And I realized after that, like when you get to a low point, you learn who your real friends are.
Yeah.
But I've heard I think it was Louis C.K. after he came back from like his
Ah,
whole like exile, right? He said you don't want to learn who your real friends are. Think
I think I
about
remember him saying that.
it. Yeah.
I don't. I. But why though? Because
Cuz you'll like if you get to that point where like you fucked up so bad, like you've done some deplorable shit, because like we're all capable of it, right?
yeah,
Every person can do something fucking awful, and like the more jacked up on emotions you are, the more likely something bad is going to happen. And so like
yeah,
having that calm center is always so important for like dealing with that. But what it means at the heart of it is like, and this is my interpretation, is that you're at such a low place that the only people who still fuck with you are your closest friends. Like you've done something so fucked up and everybody knows about it, and only your homies, like your closest homies, you know, from every like like part of the aisle, only like this little group of people or these few people really still fuck with you despite everything you've done.
Yeah, I
You'll
get you.
find out. You'll find out, but you
And
don't
then
want to be there.
because then you realize that first off you realize you're rock bottom. I mean, the only beauty about that is like honestly, all you really got left is to go back up.
Yeah.
Maybe because I start thinking about like what's his name? Because I love him as an actor. What is his name? House of Cards dude. Kevin Spacey. I wonder who
You s-
Kevin Spacey's true friends are. Like I wonder who his real friends are.
you
Like
still
that's
fuck
the
with Kevin Spacey after like all that shit. Yeah, that's a tough
like
one. Like, like
I admire the guy's acting, but it's just one of those things. Like it's weird. It's weird because every Christmas now, when he basically comes out, he's the new Mariah Carey. He's the new Mariah Carey.
I mean, has Mariah done anything like that fucked up? Like,
Oh, I mean it like this. It's the metaphor because in Christmas time they
oh,
basically
that
say Mariah
song,
Carey
yeah,
thing. And she like de-thaws and comes out for Christmas.
yeah.
Well, Kevin Spacey now returns every Christmas to let everyone know you should let me be old dude in House of Cards again. Like he has videos now. I
Oh,
think he's done
right.
it 3 times in a row,
Yeah,
and
and he
if
plays the
that's his stick,
character, and
yeah,
it's just like you're sitting there going like I get that like but it gets creepier like with the knowledge of what he's done,
yeah.
right? Like, so
Oh,
when you watch the him doing the character, you're like, damn, that's a good impression of his character. Like that's a good presentation of the character he plays. But then you also take into the fact like he wants to do that character again, and also he's got this fucked up like reason why he can't do that character anymore.
yeah. And that character is pretty fucked up if you ask me. But
Right.
that's
You
probably
have
why
to
he
watch the
that's why he
show.
embellishes it in it.
Yeah.
It's a good show, man. Like
Right.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It's Frank is amazing. Like that's like he knows how to act. He brings something to the table that other actors they don't. He has that something that Jamie
Yeah.
Foxx has.
Right. And I think that's what really like a lot of people wish they had. And like in a way, I think you have to be a certain kind of like weird to
Yeah.
be a good entertainer, because like you have to be able to think of things that other people normally can't. And like when I interact with like non-artistic people, um it's not that I can't relate to them, it's just I can't see them being like ingenious in ways like socially specifically, because that's when you
Mm.
really are interacting with people. And like oftentimes like I'd always
Excuse
thought
me.
that I had like an intense anxiety because like I could never like participate in conversations um when I was younger. And now I'm, as my grandmother has said, I've become quite the conversationalist. But what you end up with is like these situations where you're uncomfortable because like you don't have anything really to go off of. And then when you finally find that one person at the party, you're like, oh my God, we gotta talk. And as time went on, I'm like so happy that that there's no fear of missing out of anything right now. Like that's the only thing that I really like about the isolation is there's no cool shit going on that you're missing out on. You know, there's no party where like the hot friends of yours are like busting their titties out and like jumping in the pool. Like that's not happening. If it is,
That's
like
where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong.
if it is, I don't want to be there anyways right now, you know? Like that's fine with me.
I
I
will
just
tell
wish
you,
it
I've
was
thrown the dice. I've thrown the dice. There was an industry party I went to.
Mhm.
One of my good friends, he's in the freaking community. Liquid. He's a bartender, and he went to a bartender only party.
Mhm.
And it's like after they shut down, so all these bartenders, basically, I'm giving you a scene. You go to a bartender party, everyone there is basically dealing with people, so they're exposing themselves even more to the possibility of getting something.
Yeah.
I go to this party, and it is one hell of a party. It's fun. I mean, I do my precautions and stay by myself as much as I can,
But you're
but
also
at
like,
the
damn, I missed this.
yeah, yeah, it's a I don't even go to things like that, but
Mhm.
it's just the it's some kind of it was this weird rare moment to be with people that normally are just tending to parties and to
Yeah.
see another side of it. And why did I bring it up? It's weird because
No
ran
FOMO.
into that during COVID when I'm supposed to be sitting in my ass and just hiding it somewhere. Like that's crazy.
I don't really miss partying really because like I've been saying for a while now that like what the era we're in is like the one that leads up to the Great Depression of our time, right? We
Oh
have
yeah,
so many parallels to like parts of history that are all culminating in one spot. Like to me, things like Black Lives Matter is our civil rights movement. That's like
yeah,
our generation's civil rights movement. It's not just like some fad or fashion statement for people. It's like a serious movement. But like also you have all this progressive movement which is super similar to back when like in the 1920s you had people living in shacks and stuff and they called them
yeah.
hoovervilles because the president at the time was a
That's
complete piece of shit. And
yeah.
also you had the roaring 20s like um the word
Ah,
opulence
excuse me.
comes to mind where like I live in Los Angeles and like in the valley of the San Fernando Valley, and we know plenty of people who are like dummy rich, not like wealthy. You know, wealthy is like the billionaire class, but like
Yeah.
rich, just like they've got a big fucking home in Beverly Hills or some shit. And you know that like they probably don't pay all their taxes and all kinds of like shit going on, right? But like super diehard conservative people too. Like I've rarely ever met like anyone really that lefty in these areas. So like most of the political rhetoric is just kind of like, okay, you know, have your shit over there. Like I didn't really get along with a lot of the older generations that like I would be dragged along to. But like the opulence, you know, like they would have like these massive like trays of like big fucking strawberries and all these fruits and different like tarts and you know stuff, and that was just like the hors d'oeuvres type shit, and then like the fucking Persian meatballs come out because I'm Iranian, so like my mom, a lot of my mom's friends are all Iranian, so they speak Farsi, and they would have gondi, which is like these Persian meatballs, fantastic, but like you'll really only get it home cooked. Um,
Yeah.
but they would bring out all this food, and that's just the appetizer, and I'm already stuffed. And then they have like the salmon and the green rice and like all this extra food for dinner, and you're like can't eat it, or like going to massive fucking weddings and all these things, and like I always hated that stuff as a kid. I didn't really know why, other than like the music's too loud or I have no one to talk to.
Yeah. That one.
Right, that too. But when I looked at it from like a different perspective as I got older, I was like, oh, this is just flat out like wrong. Like I can finally use the like a better vocabulary to describe like some of the things that I'm seeing and the problems that really are coming to a T. Like a lot of suffering happens elsewhere in the world to make sure that your party here is perfect and
Yeah.
nice. And to me, that underpinned like the whole thing as like I grew older. I was like, God damn, like I know that I can't really do a lot about this because I know that these people like rich people gonna do rich people things. And that's their ability to do so. Like I can't infringe on that. But at the same time, like I can still be, you know, disgusted by it. And back to
Yeah.
why I'm talking about all this is like I had always been seeing this as this big, great fucking depression that's like hanging over our shoulder. For the past 2 years, I've been saying there's going to be a crash in the markets or something. It's going to be something horrible, right? And then COVID happened, and COVID's not the last pandemic we probably are going to see in our
Oh
lifetimes.
no.
What I understand is that, and I don't mean to like be too much of a downer, but like the way that like our world is being built by humans is that we are taking up so much of the natural land now that all that's really left that in terms of like what's living around us are the rats the mice, the pigeons. And I love pigeons. They look fucking hilarious, but like they are disease carrying animals. And there's these massive monocultures that develop. Like Lyme disease exists in the United States as a real problem, and it started in the Northeast, um, because mice that had Lyme disease would get bit by ticks, and
Hmm.
that's how it would transfer to people. Because then the tick with carrying Lyme disease would bite humans, and so the only reason that this would start becoming a problem was because there were so many mice. Because we had developed over everything. The only thing left to live in, the crawl spaces and the pipes were mice. Like everywhere else is
Yeah.
houses and shit. Like they'll live in your roofs and whatever. We have rats here too. Bats don't do exceptionally well, but they're also huge disease spreaders. But there's plenty of them up in the air, here. Um, and like to me, all this stuff comes together, and like you sit there and you go, well, I'm just a fucking artist. Like I can't really, unless I really, really, really want to be like, if I want to make some changes in the world, I really need to build my platform. But I also
Exactly.
don't want it to come out of nowhere. Like you always want people to know where you're coming from, why you kind of like have those things. And I don't really know how to do that while at the same time making a song that's like, ooh.
Dude, start your podcast
I mean,
because
I have one. We just joke about crypto.
but so the craziest part about why I wanted to start this podcast while we turn it into a community
Mhm.
is because I'm thinking the same way you are, bro. Because I mean, this world that we live in, I recognize the red flags. I recognize the fact that I know where I come from, and I understand that I have to then figure out how to build some form of resource that doesn't go away. And then
Mhm.
it can act as an infinite energy so I can then continue to do more things to keep building things for other people.
Right.
So it's like you, but the one thing that I realize is there's people. People is always going to be the thing rooted into it. So you then start trying to bring those people together, and you then start trying to figure out how you can work together with those people,
Mhm.
so you can then achieve the things that everybody essentially wants. People just want to be able to have options, get their water, have their energy, and
Right.
kind of just go about their day and do like we like going to work and helping people. Like we like helping people. Down at the root of it, naturally, okay, if all your wires are connected in some kind of formal way, you like helping people, you know? It's just it's a thing. So it's just like I don't know. That's why I'm striving to build these kind of things. It's
Mhm.
crazy because like I forgot you mentioned about crypto because that's the other thing I forgot to tell you. It's like, yo, man, I'm out here looking at crypto as like those are the new Pokemon, man. You got to
Are you
collect them
in deep
all.
though? Are you in as deep as I am? That's the real
No,
question.
no, I'm on the like the freaking tip. I'm on the tip of the iceberg because essentially I only care about Ethereum, but
Mhm.
I also want to just collect them because it's just well for one, it's shit to do, and I like making NFTs because it's fun. It's
Yeah.
crazy the
Yeah,
fact that
you can
there's
like you can make like it's like you can turn art into something else. Like
exactly.
you can commodify something that before was just like free for the people in a way. Like and it was not because you didn't want to like you should give ownership to people when they like buy your stuff. Like but there wasn't a way to like if I could give you the only way to give somebody like a ownership over something was like I'm gonna send you a print or I'll
Yeah,
send you like a physical CD or a tape. That was like one way of ownership, and like people just want to own and be a part of your project. Like that's just something that they enjoy doing. They want to support the artist, and like even if it's accessible in ways, they want to like put money into your pocket to keep having you do what you do.
yeah.
Ethereum, I want it to be fixed already. I'm kind of sick of it. Um, I still
Are you
think
talking
there's
about Ethereum 2.0?
well, yeah, if it fixes stuff, but like I was expecting Ethereum 2.0 to be here already. Like they were saying, yeah, 2020, Ethereum 2.0, it's coming, it's coming. And like fucking Game of Thrones with its dragons, the dragons are on their way. The dragons are coming. Like where's Ethereum 2.0? Why does it cost me like $20 to send some token somewhere? Like it used to cost me like $3 or less to send a token. Um like the other day I made the first like serious fuck up I've made in a while where like
Uh,
I just rushed sent audio to my homie's address. And thank God it was my friend. But then not only did I spend like $16 sending it there, I also spent another like $25 sending Ethereum to him so he could afford to send my audio to the right address.
mm.
So like I'm like $50 in the hole because I made one goofy little mistake. And like if the price keeps going up, who the fuck cares? Like but at the same time, like that $40 then compounds into like $200, and you're like,
And then what happens is because what I've been hearing that a lot lately between gas and between just trading or sending things.
mm-hmm.
What you didn't now have to do is create another way to do it that makes it cheaper. And one way to do that, I just spitballing, because the newest thing is putting all these tokens in games.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a game, have someone pay a certain subscription for the game, and then you get your money from the overall overhead of the game, and then you make it where that is how you trade stuff for a cheaper price or something.
Well, there's an interesting thing that goes on. So like if you don't want to bother with the whole gas system, you have options. First option is you keep it all server side. You don't
Mm,
commit any of it to the blockchain. You do the transactions and the payments for it through the blockchain. And then you just say, like, okay, like, this is now, you now own this and it's on your account. But technically, it's not committed to the chain. So you don't own that.
mm.
Like if there was a situation where it's like a trading card game, for example, and then
I've
to
seen those a
avoid
lot.
gas costs, they say, okay, you can't like, you won't have to pay any fees on our game. And they're keeping it all on their servers. Well, you don't own those cards.
Yeah,
In the case of an NFT, you own that. You put it into your wallet and it's there. Like it's safe with you until you fuck up somehow. But
yeah.
server side, like that, they just own that. The other way is like you have a separate blockchain that runs parallel, where it's not running
Mm,
on Ethereum, it's running on some other blockchain, and then you need interoperation with another blockchain to basically make the Polkadot's a good example of stuff that does that. So like there's a whole wave of things that are not Ethereum killers, so to speak.
hmm.
They're there to help Ethereum with its massive fucking problem. In that there's all these gas guzzlers, and that's like the term that websites use, like Uniswap and anything related to Tether. So like if people
Mm,
are saying I'm using USD Tether and they're moving that around, that costs gas to move Tether from one wallet to another.
yeah.
On Binance, for example, if you're trading there, which we can't because we're Americans, but if you're trading BTC
Technically.
USDT, that doesn't mean anything. Like that's all happening in the exchange. They're technically just saying we've assigned this and this to you, but like most of it doesn't really bother the chain. But when you involve like Uniswap and shit, you have these contracts constantly being made, and like every time someone makes a swap, they're committing their block, or they're committing to a block basically,
Mm,
and they're saying I want this transaction to happen, and then the network confirms it. But that transaction feels, it's like highway congestion, like there's all these different people driving down the highway making trades,
yeah.
and the more people there are, the more traffic, and so like gas costs get higher as a result. Unless you want to just sit there waiting forever. But sometimes if you put your gas too low, and I learned this a bit more in depth the other day, I was like, well, what happens if I just put a tiny fucking gas price, nobody is going to mine your block. No one will
Mm.
add your transaction or do it for you because you set too low of a price that the few people accepting super low transactions may not ever mine your block and might just mine stuff that's like at a higher gas price anyways, because what's the point of doing these really low payouts in some cases?
I
That's all Ethereum.
I get I get you. So you just broke down, and that's probably why so many people are moving to other platforms like their Hive chain, doing things there on the Hive block or the Hive blockchain. It's just because I've seen a lot of ones that are trying to get rid of the gas, and they want to just take money from whatever you sell, which
Mhm.
isn't a bad way to go about it. But it's just it gets nasty, and I understand it. It's basically turning real life into that. What I
Right.
mean by that is just it's getting more about the dollar again. And I know it's not the dollar, but at the same time, it's becoming more about just hey, I need the money on it.
Yeah, it's the cost and
Yeah,
like what's the point of this outside, like, can I use this like I can use $1?
yeah,
That's what's important, I think, in terms of like the currency side of things, because like not every crypto behave, even though they're called cryptocurrencies, not every one of them behaves like a currency,
yeah,
which is a major distinction. Like, you have to really think of some projects as stocks, because of the way that they're set up. And stocks are treated as a security. A security is like, um, it's like you're investing in a company, right?
yeah,
As a currency, which is like, well, I'm just, Bitcoin's a great example of a currency because there are people willing to accept Bitcoin for whatever, like you can
yeah.
buy really a lot of stuff with Bitcoin. And you can't do
Now
that with
Tesla.
like, exactly. But like you can't do that with like Ripple, for example. Who the
Yeah,
fuck is gonna accept? Some people will, but like Ripple behaves like a security because only Ripple really is only Ripple Labs is really developing Ripple. There's no outside people doing their own shit. Like Bitcoin, there's people making like BTC Pay or
yeah.
Satoshi Wallet or like all these different like applications of like different ways that people are building apps for Bitcoin. With Ripple, it's just Ripple Labs making shit for their blockchain. Nobody wants to use it because like it behaves like a security, like it's like a stock essentially. Um,
Since well, I don't mean to stop you, but the last time I checked on Ripple, they were basically going through a lawsuit.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, are they? Well, are they or have they settled that or
No,
what is this?
it's gonna go on through the whole year, I think, and it may be
Ah,
one of the biggest lawsuits of the year, possibly, because this is something that should have been addressed a long time ago. In 2017, 2018, the price of Ripple spiked to roughly $4 peak, where the major holders, which were the CEO and the surrounding people,
yeah,
dumped all of the millions and millions and billions of fucking coins that they had, dumped it into the market, made off like absolute bandits, in every sense of it. Like, some people got really wealthy from like trading currencies and cryptos and shit during that time, like super wealthy, but nobody got as wealthy as dudes like that. And what ended
yeah,
up happening is like the SEC or any of the regulators didn't do anything. 2 years later, 2.5 years later, 3 years, finally, the SEC comes into it and is like, "Hey, that wasn't cool." But it's
yeah,
not only was it at the end of an administration, it was so half baked that the regulators are probably going to lose this suit, and if not lose, not really anything good's going to come out of it.
yeah,
So what we'll probably end up seeing is Ripple's going to probably go on and do what they do. Maybe they'll actually go through a period of growth and actually start building products that people want to use.
yeah.
Um, or they fade into obscurity like they should. And and
Back to the
also,
oblivion.
it'll also set a precedent, and that's what's more interesting is like what happens from there on out, where like now the regulators have a different set of rules to apply to different blockchains that behave like securities. So they're going to start treating things like Stellar and all these other ones that are almost securities very differently. Um, there's this really cool website you can check out if you want to just learn a little bit about what the big players were looking at a year ago. It's called the
Uh-huh.
Crypto Rating Council, and they
Crypto.
haven't updated it since February 2020. So, don't like look at these and think, oh, these are good buys. Just consider that like this is what crypto heads like Coinbase, Kraken, and etc., like these major exchanges, think of these projects. So they rate it on a scale from 1 to 5. Ripple scores like a 4 or a 4.5.
Mm.
That's how much of a security they think it is. Bitcoin scores a 1. The DAI, you've heard of that, right?
I have not heard of the die.
The DAI is interesting. I'll get to that in a second, but the DAI is treated as a 1, a currency. Other things like Ethereum is a 2, where it's like not quite a security, but it's more of a currency than it is a security by most standards.
Yeah.
The DAI is another stable coin, simply put. But
Okay.
stable coins are really interesting in the sense that Tether, USDC, True USD, all these stable coins are pegged to the dollar and are backed by cash, which means that the groups that are developing on them say, we are basically like, we are basically saying that this is good for a dollar as long as we have the cash to make sure that for every tether that is printed or minted, rather, we back it with a real dollar.
Yeah.
And so that's how they're able to maintain the price. Oh, my camera died or phone died. Let me switch to this one.
That's what happens when it does that. That's cool. At least it does something cute instead of just like, hey.
Yeah. But basically what the DAI is the DAI is special in that the price is of a dollar is maintained by two things: Ethereum and the Maker token. Maker is not worth an investment, if you ask me.
Mm.
I have money in it because I thought it was a good investment at the time when I bought it, but Maker essentially is a very, very expensive token that allows for governance. It's like the same purpose that Audius in a way has, where like it gives you
Mm.
voting power. People with the Maker token can vote on the like the certain fees and what happens with the DAI, so that it's a decentralized like system, and that everyone who has money in it can decide the fate of it. It's not just like a board of directors who says, well, we're going to do this change and da 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 da. um, the DAI is unique in that you can't have your account closed, because
Mm.
if you trade USDC around, they can stop you from doing it if you're like doing something that people don't like, or if Goldman Sachs doesn't like you for whatever reason, they can stop you from trading USDC. Just flat out, they can cut you off as long as they know that your wallet belongs to you. But with the DAI, that can't be stopped. Those transactions can happen because there's no discrimination as to what's happening. It's more so that like with Ethereum, you always leave a trail. Ethereum is
Yeah.
a very transparent blockchain. You always see what's happened. You can see everyone's history through Ethereum, and it's very hard to hide your tracks. You
Yeah.
can, there's still ways, but it's illegal and against the terms of service on Ethereum. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was introduced to a couple of wallets that changed basically their code through every transaction, and um, I haven't dabbled because of said terms.
word. Like what were the wallets?
um, Hold on, let me see. I have it because what I do is I keep my notes, and let me see. Hold on.
I need to use the restroom, so just give me just a minute and I'll be right back.
Okay.
How much time do we have on this?
Dude, I just normally kind of
Just riff it.
yeah, man. If you just talk.
Well, let's keep going. I'm just gonna go use the restroom real quick, do a quick intermission. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, so crypto basically. I could talk about this forever and drive anyone crazy.
Well,
But
I was
everybody's
I was
interested right now, so it's the time.
it is actually the crazy part is back when I first had my first cast going over cryptocurrency and NFTs, it was back in if it wasn't June, it was episode like 14 and 27. But the Bitcoin was then at 14,000 at that
Mhm.
time. And it's just crazy because now we're at 55,000.
Yeah.
And that's the craziest part about it. Um
Well, if you think of it like this, there's certain price points that exist as these like major like buzzing times for people. I really started getting into Bitcoin around like 2 to 3K back in 2017. That's when I first got like really interested in purchasing it and like trading it and speculating, right? And my friend who had been in the game for a long time, much longer than I had, and I still talk to him today about it. Um, he said he had been waiting for 5K forever by the time that we finally got there. Like he was like, "Mwah, it's here." Like he'd really been waiting for it. And like for for me, that was 50K, right? Like we're like, finally, like I've been waiting so long for this. But the timeline's a little fucked up right now
yeah.
because in 2017, this kind of happened around like towards the end of the year. And right now it's happening at the not just the beginning of the year, but like last year as well. Like this bull run is very different in a lot of ways. Like, or rather, this bullish cycle is very different in that like it just keeps going and like there's all these like really strong projects now because this isn't like a baby industry after the years that have passed. It's been, you know, um 2009 was the basically the inception of Bitcoin and the production of it. It's been more than like 11 years really. It's like but pretty much like, this industry is still young, so to speak, but like not it's like it's not a toddler really. 2017-18 was like the toddler phase, right? We're in the like the rapidly growing hormonal like teenage phase of it.
yeah.
um because there's all these massive projects like seeing Binance coin just like hit number 3 last night was like, for me that's insane because I'd been on that coin for a long time. I was like trading it around like $20 and I was like trading it around like $30. And once like the pandemic hit, dropped to really that low again. And I didn't buy into any coins besides Tezos, which was probably like the weakest purchase to make. But like, um, shit's been going crazy. Like the fact that that's number 3 and overtook market cap of Tether to me is just like, holy shit, like that's a significant achievement. Um, and I think what's really wild right now is like you could throw money at anything and probably make money right now.
Yeah.
You could throw your dollar, specifically your dollar, not just anything, but you could throw your dollar at anything and make some money, and maybe get a little delusional and think that you're a pro trader or some shit, but
Don't do that ever.
right, exactly. But it is important to notice what you feel. So like when this cycle to me has been very different in that when I start seeing people acting delusional and saying delusional things and posting delusional things, which they already are, but that's expected with traders, and if you ever go on Reddit, it's just like emotional
Oh yeah.
reactions. Um, that is kind of like where things are close to the end,
Mm.
but we're not fully into that stage yet. Right now, the savvy people who are like still the outsiders, but like kind of coming in, going like, okay, like I remember this. Like there was a bunch of people who wouldn't shut the fuck up. Like I want a piece of this now. I don't want to
Yeah.
wait until it's too late again. Because like for example, I remember in December 2017. There was I was talking with these guys who I can't stand today, but I was talking with them and they're like, that guy over there put $10 into Verge, which was some random shit coin, and he turned it into 1,000, and I'm like, oh, that's ridiculous,
Yeah.
like that's gambling. But $10 is nothing to lose for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like $1,000 is a lot of money to lose, but $10 is like most people can afford to spend $10. Like you could take $10 out of their pocket and they might not even notice,
Exactly.
metaphorically. But like hearing that and like all these randoms who have never invested a day in their life should have been fucking like a fire alarm to me.
Yeah.
But because I was so new to the space, I had no like perception of what the time to sell was. And nowadays, like I'm much more keen on like watching for those signs again. When you start seeing like CNBC inviting on like old OG crypto heads onto their shit, that's a good indication it's time to get out. When you start seeing like 15-year-olds who got super rich off of cryptocurrencies, it's time to get out. Like
Yeah.
you need to start taking a lot of your money off the table, because you're like, I'm seeing all of the stupid bait. Basically, you're seeing a lot of bait right now.
How'd you feel about Doge?
um I'm fine with it. I'm happy that like people are like getting interested in cryptocurrency, but it's like you waited this long to get into cryptocurrency and your choice was Doge. Are you fucking insane? Because like what's important about Doge is that Doge has no cap to how many Dogecoins can be minted. That's why if you look on CoinMarketCap, one of the highest amount of coins in circulation is Doge. There's no cap to it. You can just spit them out like crazy. But you know what that means? Can you guess what unlimited coin minting is?
That is inflation.
Exactly. So you're putting your money into something that's almost no better than a dollar. In fact,
Yeah.
far worse, because the only thing supporting it is people like
Is the
having a laugh. Like I have so my crypto friend, this OG crypto head that I knew, had mined at least like 5 million Dogecoin
uh,
for nothing. So when it finally spiked and he's looking at 7 cents, he opens up his exchange and just starts dumping it onto the market. He walked off with at least like 100 to 200 grand from a long con of just holding on to this thing for years and years. Where like before, 5 million Doge in at a fraction of a cent is like 5 grand.
yeah.
And whoop, 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 those at those prices, um the more worthless a coin is, and the more that you have whenever like the market cap goes up a little bit, the more money you can make off of it, because people are willing to pay a higher price because everyone wants Dogecoin at the time.
Yeah.
And so there's a tweet that I saw that was really funny, in like not in like a good way. Like it was just like that's so accurate. That's what makes it funny, in that Dogecoin doing what it does best, introducing people to crypto by slapping them in the face.
Yeah.
Because most people who bought Doge lost money on it.
Yeah. That's the real hard truth about it.
Right.
Most people that got in, they lost money. I got in on a fluke. Honestly, there was a friend of mine that told me about it before it hit the spike, and I just got lucky. Honestly, I
Were you
just got
pricing under
lucky.
a cent or more than? Or more
Yes,
than a cent? Okay.
under the cent. So I just got lucky.
Are you gonna hold it?
I had a method. I basically got rid of half, and then I held the rest. Said,
Okay.
let's just watch it. It's a social
Fair
coin.
enough. Yeah, fair enough. So that's a smart play. Like you were early before like the rush happened, and then like you took earnings off the table, and you're like, now I got some funny money to play with. So did you put it
Exactly.
into dollars, or were you doing Robinhood or some shit?
Since when I finally found out about the understanding of how Robinhood works,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't own any of your shit on there, and if you're trying to get it out, it takes forever, and it takes and there, it's a bunch of shit to get it out.
But
Therefore,
also,
what?
it's not real Dogecoin.
Yeah,
It's a
it's on
trust.
their server.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a trust. You're basically saying I own it's like you're owning shares of it, but you can't when I saw that you can't withdraw or deposit Bitcoin into Robinhood, I'm like, fuck that. Like that's
yeah,
pointless. Like that defeats the purpose of Bitcoin. The purpose of Bitcoin is to say like I want to put it into my wallet. So if I
exactly,
ever need to, I can buy a game on G2A.
exactly.
Fuck G2A at the same time because they're evil as fuck. But like, you can still do shit with Bitcoin like when you have it. But if it's on Robinhood, yeah,
Well,
you know.
so the other thing that happened for me is because I was telling people if you're gonna Robinhood, what Robinhood does do, it does help you learn about stocks. And if you know that
Mhm.
you don't have the money to just drop 2K to go open up with a brokerage or whatever,
Right.
um, start small. So what Doge did for me was it allowed me to make some money that I could then have on their system. Therefore, not spend any of my money anymore and just use it throughout Robinhood and make money off of it
I
through
see.
Robinhood.
Now
So
that's a good
therefore,
idea too.
because since they offer cash management, which is not a bank, but you can still use your money on there through there. Technically, what you
Yeah.
could do is just make money off of Robinhood and just turn your simple transactions through Robinhood if you wanted to.
Right. What you have essentially is equity now. So
Yeah,
um what you can do with that equity is you have purchasing power and you can make other trades and like essentially what happened is you sold your Dogecoin to hungry buyers because there was someone willing to pay that price for Dogecoin, and you were rewarded for it. So now
yeah,
you've got that equity. Where things get kind of muddy though is like for me, I never trusted Robinhood. When I first opened an account, they like wanted to charge like a transaction just to see if your bank works, and like mine bounced. So they're like, we're gonna charge you $25. So I said, well, you can go fuck yourself. I don't really want to trade stocks. And I'd been using like things like Coinbase and stuff already. So I was like, I'm just gonna stick with crypto because like at least I own it,
yeah,
like at least it's mine. And like there's no extra charges besides the fees that you pay and the taxes that you're going to pay, which add
yeah,
up. It adds up. That's for certain. Like if you make a flip in under a year, this is worth a fiscal year from the day that you purchase something, that's income tax. Do you know
yeah.
that?
I do know that.
Yep.
I do know that
That's how rich
because
people stay rich.
yep. That's why you so if you really get into the money scheme about it, I always tell all my friends stuff. I always joke around with it and say, "Hey, those games you bought and those games you're streaming, well, you write that down because technically you can write that down as a business expense.
if you
If
are,
you,
yeah, if you own an LLC.
yeah,
That being said, um, the past 4 years have been really bad for small businesses.
mm,
And not without getting too political, it was directly due to like the tax relief bullshit that the last administration had pushed through with the help of the GOP. Those tax breaks that we used to get, like Obama and before that, those years, we would small businesses, you could write off a lot of stuff and get like some of your money back. You would actually
yeah,
be reimbursed a little bit because you were doing something that was seen as legitimate business. Um, but a lot of that was dashed during that administration, especially with that tax bill. So like we could write off anything. Like if I wanted to like buy a new microphone for a podcast, for example, like let's say I'm just going gung ho within podcast, my buddy starts his own business. We write off all of our expenses and get tax relief for that. It's like it's a no brainer, but we have to now wait a while before those that realizes again, like where we get back into a state where like, okay, we can actually write off our things and be compensated fairly as small businesses.
Mm.
So there's a lot to sift through in terms of like what's what's affordable right now in terms of like what can you do on your own dime, and like how is it being taxed and so on. And like, for I find that the word tax is kind of like a boogeyman for conservatives. Like, I always talk to, like, especially during the election when like propositions were coming into effect. I was talking with some friends of mine. Some of them are a little more conservative. They hear the word
Yeah.
tax, they start going ape shit. They're like, "Oh no, 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 no!" Like, "Oh, like can't have that." Like, it's like, what do you mean? Like, this is good. Like, we should be taxing the shit out of Disneyland. Like, those fuckers make so much goddamn money. Like, Apple should be paying tax for the property that they own because all their shit's in offshore bank accounts anyways. They're one of the biggest companies in the United States. Yes, they should be paying proper income tax, not the price they paid like 100 years ago for their property. Not
Yeah.
100 years ago. Disneyland is worse. Disneyland, that property is worth several million and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But the property tax they pay is based off of like, $100,000 uh, price of the land at the time, not adjusting for inflation, not adjusting for the current property value. And that lost in California because on average, California doesn't like uh, property tax changes. The state as a whole doesn't really like those kinds of taxes because, like I said, there's a lot of rich people near where I live who would probably vote to kill that kind of stuff, and
Hmm.
um, corporations have a lot of money to fight those propositions. Look at the Uber, DoorDash. I think Lyft too is also a part of it. But there was this proposition that's going to affect the other states. It will. That's the major implication, is that other states are going to be fucked by this, essentially. It's that rideshare companies originally had to, in California, had to treat the people doing rideshare as employees, meaning they owe them benefits, they owe them sick time, they owe
Mm.
them all sorts of stuff. Um, but also like that puts a different burden on the employees, where it's like now they're employees, they're not just like one-time contractors. The problem is that the previous way things were, which was just contract based, like Instacart, you get paid for the days you work, but you still had to, like a real schedule, pick those days and the hours you were going to work. I fucking hated that job,
Mm.
especially when like if you fucked up too many times and you weren't able to do your shift, it wasn't like a "Boop, you're good." They would penalize you. They'd be like, okay, well now you're unable to work for X amount of days. They could just do that willy nilly back in those days. And like, they also had these really good incentives. Like, if you do this much, we're going to pay you extra for it. It turned into a fucking nightmare for some people because the benefits started to dry up. There was no extra cheddar on top of your fucking enchilada. Like, you you were just doing the Uber shit, and like it started to become really cumbersome for people because there was no extra money coming in. So the state stepped in and said, like, you need to actually, give these people sick time and like benefits, real benefits, like
Yeah.
at the cost of like the flexibility. And so some people can argue, yeah, but I think it's better for drivers because they want to choose their own times. Where it's like, yeah, but like people need insurance.
Yeah.
People need like to be able to like take care of their family outside of just Uber and shit. And like most people don't do Uber as like a one-off thing that like, okay, well, for 2 weeks I'm gonna do Uber and I'm gone. No, they're probably gonna do these jobs for at least like a couple of months.
Yeah.
So
Shit,
like,
years. That's their new job.
yeah,
That's what they do.
and full-time hours, some of these people, like, it is the work that they're doing. Like, it's no different from a taxi service, right? But if you're going to work full-time and it's contract based and there's no benefits, there's no health insurance, nothing, no 401k, no matching, nothing like that, the fuck is the point of doing that job? It doesn't land you anywhere with a career,
Yeah.
like, it's just going to put some quick money in your pocket. You may as well just be a drug dealer at that.
Pretty fucking much.
And I don't mean it's the same thing. There's a different level of danger involved with each. But even ride sharing, it's fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
If you've ever driven in Los Angeles, like it's not a question of are you a good driver. It's a question of how soon are you going to get into an accident.
Mm.
And like the stress of just trying to find parking was nearly impossible in most cases. You're like pulling up to somebody's like North Hollywood apartment complex going, where the fuck do I meet this person? And then you have to like park in, like you don't even get to park sometimes. You just have to like leave your car in the middle of the road with the hazards on. Like
Yeah.
that's so bad. Like that's so unsafe for not only me, I could get ticketed, like it just puts you at risk, and like you're trying to make it on time because you have these tight deadlines.
Yeah.
And
That's how it was when I went down to New Orleans. But it's like it's understood because you're getting off at the shopping district, so
right.
they know that most people just gonna be out and just get in and get out. But that's the thing, the fact that you have to do that there. Not to mention their streets are like shit there, but it's just I get it. Like it's nasty. Like the whole rideshare situation is crazy. Someone was introducing me to Instacart and how you can't even pick or know about what kind of like place you're going to if it's going to be upstairs. It's not user friendly. They don't care about their workers. They only care about the people that are putting the money in to use it. And
Exactly. They
that's
care
where the
about the
problems
user,
kick in.
not the worker.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, exactly. That's the frustrating part about things like Prop 22, because now other states are going to reach similar situations where like the representatives and the people who draft the bills will start going, oh shit, like this really sucks for some of my constituents, like the people I
Yeah.
represent in the state. And if they're a good lawmaker, then they know like they should be doing stuff for the people, not just like pandering. But what'll happen is now that bill, that proposition, will be the precedent that these companies can use in their legal argument, saying, well, look, we won this in California. Same thing. Fuck you. And if it ever comes to a vote, which it probably won't now that they have this legal precedent, they can always just win it in court, and it gets nipped in the bud right away.
Yeah.
Working for Instacart sucked. I hated it because like at 1 minute I'm like, the best things you could do were the ones where you go shopping for someone. That's what my friend initially sold it to me at. The other version was just like straight up Postmates, where it's like pick up some bags, take it to a person's house. And those didn't pay anywhere as much as the shopping one. Okay.
Yeah.
And most of the time when you did those pickup ones, you could be driving a couple miles, but
Mm.
most of the time you were driving a long fucking distance. Like I had to go from one side of the valley to the other in one of those cases. And like it's not that the it's mileage that's a problem, it's traffic and the amount of lights and like all
Yeah.
there's it's just so crowded in Los Angeles and the San Fernando Valley that like something that takes you like 20 minutes no traffic takes you like an hour on like a decent day in rush hour.
Yeah.
So
And then being underpaid or not paid,
right.
just getting a shitty tip. And then I found about you being able to,
People
like, people
didn't
can
tip
can
mostly
tip
though.
you, or they can tip you, and then they have like a day to take it away from you.
Well, not only that, but in a lot of those rideshare apps, they take if they tip you through the app, they take a large percentage of that. So like
Wow,
you can tip someone $5 and they might get 3.
that sucks.
It's wrong. It's like flat out wrong. But
Because we don't know that on our ends. There's been many a time.
there's nothing in it may be in the fine print, but even then.
Oh, it's always in the fine print. Legally, they have to do that shit.
They like put in
It's
the fine print, we will fuck you.
the crazy part is all this is going on, and we're almost one step from self-driving cars. So it's like whatever work you do, it's insult to injury. It's just that's the other fucking nasty part with it. We're just one step away from where we don't even need the humans to do it anymore. So it's just kind of,
I mean, already like jobs are disappearing fast, and we already knew this was coming. If you had been keeping your ear to like the whole automation,
Yeah.
uh, like this wave of automation is very different than like the industrial revolution. The industrial revolution created a lot of jobs, um, while destroying a lot more. But
Mm.
it's kind of like a layered cake where every next layer of automation and like job destruction creates some jobs but destroys a whole lot more. And what we end up with now is like a situation where instead of a movie studio that's just like buzzing with tons and tons of people, and they have like a DVD PR department. Like my dad used to work for Paramount, so I got to see like what that
Mm.
was somewhat like, like just a glimpse. I never really spent that much time there, but like there was so many layers to this whole thing. And then things like Netflix come around, and you've just deleted like a more than half of the jobs. You're left with a third of the amount of people you need to do the same thing but a million times better,
Yeah.
you know? And like what it ends up with is like, yes, those jobs are high paying if you're in the right positions, but also it's like even harder because there's more, like now that there's all these people looking for work, there's more competition, and you have to be exceptional,
Yeah.
absolutely exceptional, or nepotism. And I'm okay at some of the things that I've done. Like I like to think that I'm at least exceptional at music, but like I'm not going to be but it's not a resume thing. Like I'm not going to put music on my resume because like that's something you have to hear, you have to feel, you have to like
Yeah.
understand
Totally
from
different.
the visceral experience. But like when you put on a job resume, you're like, okay, well, I worked at fucking Office Depot for like a year and I hated it, and I learned how to use a cash register, blah blah blah. Hire me at Best Buy.
Yeah.
Like that's real shit for me. Like I work right now for Best Buy, and like, um, do I like it? No, but it's better
Nah.
than the jobs that I had. Like, and I am one of the lucky few that wasn't fired
Hmm.
for a specific reason. They were going through a transition period where essentially COVID had fucked up a lot of the situation where like they had all these people furloughed, right? You were still on staff technically, you were still getting
Yeah.
paid unemployment, so you could collect that money. You were entitled to that, as benefits of being furloughed. But when people started coming back in and they hired the seasonals, there was a lot of restructuring going on. So like around November, they said to me, "Hey, we have this opportunity for you. Like it's more of like a horizontal movement, not so much like a vertical. Like you're not getting paid any differently. Um, you can work for the store from home because I answered the phone for that store, but most of the time I was out on the floor and doing shit too. But my
Yeah.
main job was like pick up the phone for this and like two other stores that are nowhere near where we are.
Hmm.
And that trained me for what I ended up with, where they turned it into now that phone that you used to work for that only picked up for three stores also picks up for the entire United
Mm.
States,
Mm.
which became a whole other ballgame. I was not like, it was shocking at first. Like I was like, holy fuck, like I don't know how to help these people. I don't
That's
even, what am I gonna do?
so that happened on so many scales for other companies. I
Mm-hmm.
can't talk about one of them. Well, I give you the concept. Basically, what happened is there was this company. They had basically like three buildings. They had a campus.
Right.
They moved all that down to one building,
Mm-hmm.
and they furloughed people. And now, when they got everybody back into that one building, they got rid of people.
Right.
And what ended up happening, they made it where, why is my camera light dying? Why is my light dying? But um, point it. Yeah, why is it? Why are you dying? Why are you dying? Anyway, no. That's like bothering me now. No. Okay, yeah. Give me 1 second. Let me see why the hell that.
It's like a horror movie, just like
Right.
a monster jumps out.
Okay. Um, I think I know what happened. Can you? Okay. So I think what happened is they overheated, and
Okay.
that's like caused.
Well, we got the
Yeah, I need
green
to.
light.
Yeah, right now it makes it look horrible, but yeah, I got that light. Anyway, um, so basically they moved everybody to one building,
Right.
one building, and they had it where they switched it out where they were already working from home. So now it turned into they're just moving people in and out. So it's like you're not going to be in the office anymore. They're going to have
Right.
people working from home and just in and out with them, and that just sucks because they just took like the big company just basically said, "Fuck the little people, fuck the people. We're gonna make this efficient because that's what capitalism is for.
Right.
Capitalism is for getting the most efficient thing and getting the job done out. That's what it's about."
Well, this form of capitalism, yes, we have a very
Mm,
extreme form of it right now. Um, More to my story is that like it doesn't because it doesn't end there. Like there's a bit of an interesting like kind of development that happened along the way. So like from November, I said hell yes, I need to get out of here. Like I still live with my parents, and I don't want to expose them to COVID by me catching it from customers or coworkers
yeah,
because it easily can happen. It's just too easy to transmit. And with work, like I knew that I could work from home because if I'm doing calls for the whole nation, like that's okay. If I'm at home, like I'm not in those stores. You know,
yeah,
if they're calling the store that I was working at, then I can just go over and ask whoever's working in that department, like, hey, what's going on with this? Can we do this? Da 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 da. And then relay that information back to a customer and help them out from that angle. But now I'm like, okay, well, shit, I have to like figure out a solution every time over just the phone. And I can do it most of the time. I usually have the tools, unless it's like, more nuanced stuff. And what ended up happening is that over time I was settling in, and they called me. My managers called me and they said, look, like do you want to take this next opportunity where basically you're not going to be linked to our store anymore? You'll
mm,
still answer calls mainly for us, but you will have different managers, different supervisors, which will all be kind of like the central corporatized version of it. And it's all going to be remote. You don't have to answer to us anymore. And I liked those managers. Like most people don't like their immediate supervisors, but like I fucked with them. They were all good
yeah,
people. And I said, okay, like I understand that like the alternative is basically not working anymore
yeah,
or just getting a job in the store. Fast forward another few months, we're here. Like barely even 1 or 2 months had passed. My coworker, who is one of the other operators who moved with me, said, sent this to me, and it's like Best Buy is laying off tons of employees at record high
mm,
stock price, at record high sales and revenue. They're laying people off. And to be fair, it's because of the situation we're in. Like, we can't have that many people coming into stores. Like, uh, every time an employee gets exposed to COVID, they're out of commission for 2 weeks because you can't be certain.
yeah,
Um, and so they just laid off all of the people that they didn't really need. Every Best Buy in the area had to go, who can we afford to lose and who can we not afford to lose? And like
exactly.
80% of the staff is likely gone. You know, certain very important salespeople probably stuck around. Anyone in managerial positions probably got to keep their job. But everyone that was kind of just like there for the part time, all the part timers probably just whoop, out the door.
Yep,
And I was a part timer, and I I wouldn't say I'm thankful to keep my job. I'm just lucky that I saw the life preserver and I grabbed on when it came to me.
yeah,
But it sucks because like a lot of the people that were working there, either it was their second job or it was their only job. And like that isn't isolated to just Best Buy. Like that's as you were saying, like there's companies downsizing everywhere.
and that's
Everything.
honestly that's what sparked in me. That means I need to be in control of where I'm working.
Right.
That means if you need to make your own thing so that way you can be good. Because I mean, at the end of the day, they don't care about you. You
No.
know, it's just that's the weird part about the realization of it. It's just like you're here until we don't need you, and it's not just because it's a pat on the back. Yeah, you're a number. You're getting something done. As soon as you don't fit that equation, you're out.
And it's nothing personal either. Like some people
It's
take that kind
business.
of stuff. Yeah, some people take it so personally. Like with customers, I take it a little personally because like if they're being shitty to me and they're disrespecting my opinion, or like I'm certified in like cloud computing and shit, and like if I know what I'm talking about and I sound like I know what I'm talking about, and you're still telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about, that's personal. You can go fuck yourself. And I've hung up on someone for that. Like basically this one lady was like saying like, well, this router like isn't dual band because like it doesn't say it on the back. Like, and I'm trying to explain to her like, look, like when you turn the router on, you'll see both bands pop up. Cause I wasn't clear on what it meant. So I looked it up real quick. And it basically just means a dual band router means you have the 2.4 or 2.1 gigahertz and then the 5 gigahertz or whatever.
Hmm.
Like you've got the one band and another band, but she's like saying to me, well, there's only one password and it only says netgear 12345. And I'm like, you're when you plug the router in and you set it up, you will see both of those. Well, it's not on the box. So I'm like, okay, well, I have, she's like, well, what do you really know about this? And I'm like, I have a certification in Amazon cloud computing and Red Hat Linux, but don't take my word for it. And I hung up on her. Like, don't I'm giving you straight facts right now. I'm doing the research for you and you're going to disrespect me. It's personal. But with the business,
I feel that.
with the company now I'm representing the company too when I do this. So like
Yeah,
that's bad business of me. But
I
I'm
feel
not
that too.
going to take like people's like shit
Shit. Yeah,
when
I'm not
they've
gonna do
already
that.
bought the product. If they return it, it's like $100. I don't need to save that sale. Like that's no sweat, really. No sweat off
Yeah.
the company's back either. And like I was providing excellent service up until she kept disrespecting me. And then it's just like, well, I don't actually have to help you.
Yeah.
Like there's a million other people that need assistance. I'm going to get to them because they're not going to waste my time here, and I'm not wasting your time. I'm giving you good information. But I'm saying this like they're listening, but you never know.
Right. Right. No, I feel you, and I had a similar thing happen. Like it's Domino's. I remember I was at Domino's. Someone was trying to understand the simple concept of you have to pay for the pizza and you have to pay a delivery fee. And the lady just was like, I'm not paying delivery fee for this pizza. I'm like, but you have to. It comes with the delivery. It's the craziest part because it it's just some
That
people
should be
don't
so
want to
simple.
understand. Yeah, yeah. You would think that would be simple, but it turns into no, I'm not paying. Like, but you have to. You understand the concept, and that didn't work out. So it just turned into an old lady coming there pissed
Yeah,
because she
and like
couldn't get her pizza delivered.
but she came anyways, so like the
Exactly.
problem is just solved itself. It's like if you don't want to pay the delivery fee, then come into the like but there's stuff like that where it's like at Best Buy, like there are things like in retail because like there are things that are hard to understand. Like the way companies work are sometimes hard to understand. But like something like Domino's, like from the user side, not the worker side, from the user side, a caveman can figure that out. You don't even need to know English as long as you know how to say pizza.
Pretty
Give me
much.
pizza. How big do you want it? بزرگ
You
خیلی
can get a
خیلی
pizza
بزرگ.
high. There you go.
Yeah, like you could be fucked up like on heroin and like still be able to get yourself a pizza as long as you can like pull the money out of your pocket. I mean, I've seen some crazy videos of like there's like a gas station attendant and like they were playing the Oblivion music, so it was like one of those ones, and the guy's just like, you know, like almost paralyzed, and he's like not doing his job. The people who are like trying to pay for their gas and shit are just like, you're gonna get robbed, like, and like that's when like you're at the other extreme, but like still like the amount of like common sense people bring into places shock me sometimes, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
look, like you got yourself into some of these messes, like, and if like you're trying to return something long overdue, like whose fault is that?
Exactly.
You know, like I understand like if you experience so like if you had COVID, for example, we like generally will excuse that for a lot of people. If you have like some hospitalization, we generally excuse it. Like, and I always try to tell people you have to go into the store. You gotta haggle. This is about the interaction that you share with that worker so that they take pity on you without saying that. It's just like you gotta talk to them in front of them with the product so that they can assume that, like, okay, I'll make the
It's crazy how
exception
that
for
works.
you.
It's crazy how
Yeah.
that works.
But just like, for God's sake, like when I'm on the phone with people, they're like, so are you going to connect me with the store or not? And I'm like, look, I gave you everything you need to know. You're not going to have it any different in the store. And if it is different, it's because you were dishonest about what you were bringing in. So, an example is like I always tell people, I always set the expectation when they're talking about trading in their like iPhone or whatever. I always tell them, look, I don't know what your iPhone actually looks like right now. So they may give you a different quote. I'm just going to take your word for it and plug in the answers that you give me. Okay, okay, you get 160 bucks in a gift card. But if they bring it in and it's like beat to fuck and the system says zero, like that's not on me.
So my okay, so perfect example. For me on my end, went down to Micro Center. I don't know if that's in California or not, but
I
basically
haven't
it's a
seen them,
place.
but I know exactly what it is.
Yeah. So build a computer. I wanted a shiny red case with glass on the side of it. I fucking
Damn
broke the
right.
glass. Fucking broke the glass.
Yeah.
And what was the situation? Basically, I called them and I was like, "Hey, glass broke, blah blah blah. Can I get a new one?" And then basically just turned it to, "No, I can't really help you over the phone." Went in person, the lady, because I was willing to pay for it, but lady basically goes and gets one off the shelf, adds it as a write off, hands me a glass, and just lets me go. So it's just the interaction is always more valuable. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm not trying to like philosophize it or whatever the fuck the word is, but it's just that interaction in person is is definitely valuable. Like I need more people to understand that. But
Yeah.
it's
Moral of the
it's crazy
story.
because
Moral of
COVID.
the
Like,
story is moral of the story is get a steel case.
oh yeah, no, like to this day, I still need to go take that case back to the store and say, "Can we get all my stuff out of here and put it in something solid?"
Yeah. I mean, I built my computer and like I went with like a steel case, not because of anything other than like it was cheap, but I always felt really safe about it when I was going to college because I was like, no one's gonna steal this fucking iron brick. Like, 'cause I went to university in a really really poor town,
uh,
um, and it was a very humbling experience. I went there because my aunt was a teacher there, and it was a total change from Los Angeles. It was the second one of the it was like close to the second. The city nearby was the second poorest town in the United States, if that's any
mm,
indication, and it was the second cheapest school in the United States in New Mexico. I
okay, I thought you was in New Orleans.
really no. The cheapest is like Wisconsin. Um, but I really loved my experience there because like I came with like, this like this fascination for things and like I said, I've been around the opulence and shit
Yeah.
and going back to like where people had nothing, like all the out of towners who were going to school there would always like talk shit about townies and shit. They'd be like, "Oh, like oh townies, ooh, weird," but like they weren't really like kicking it with people there. I don't think they were kicking it with like people their age and really getting to like know them without that judgment. And I didn't like. I didn't really judge people for like being from that town. I actually kind of
Yeah.
made more friends that lasted longer than anyone who I met from out of state. You know, anyone who was from that town, uh, I became like I've got some still people that I still will chat with and talk to that like, and if I go back there, I will see them. You know, like, or if they've already moved, then that's out of the question. But like, I had found like there's just like this humility in people who didn't have much,
Yeah.
and like in that setting, that's where like I started to really value the things that I had that were like expensive, like my computer and shit, and go like, wow, like no one's gonna steal that. They would if they knew what it was, but like you know, but no one wants that thing.
I need to
So
invest.
yeah,
I need to
right.
invest something that makes my computer look like shit.
Well, I mean, they on cars, what is it called, like hood camouflage? I had that too. I let the clear coat on. I had a, like a Lexus ES 300. My dad basically had got a Prius, and he said you can
Hmm.
have this luxury sedan, and I'm like, oh, like it was a '99 Lexus, and like
So
that's like a
I just
almost
want to tell you,
accessible.
I had the same thing. I had a tan one. It burned up in front of me, but I had a tan one.
Well, mine lived. I ended up selling it to some dude who needed it more. Um, and like I'm happy that I sold it to him for a low price because like he was an immigrant clearly. I didn't ask from where. I think he said he was Mexico, but either way, it's like I just wanted it gone, and like at the same time I knew that like for the condition it was in with the mileage it was in, this guy was getting it for a steal,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, praise the the Mexican, not Mexican, sorry, that's insensitive. The Latin paper that I posted it to, because that shit sold quick. He called me up fast, like within a day or two. Craigslist, nobody wanted that shit, but like, because most of it's like you don't know what you're getting on Craigslist, but this guy was
Yeah.
like down for it. I've sold a couple of my parents' cars, and like, let me tell you, like, it's not. I don't enjoy it. It's more of like a chore, but I've done it enough where like I'm happy to do it again if and like I don't need. I'm not worried about doing it again. Like I don't have any anxiety about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Lexus that I had the perfect hood armor, hood camouflage. The clear coat was all fucked up because like I never took care of it. I would always just let like the snow and rain and whatever the fuck just and tree sap and shit just beat it to hell. Like I was fine with it looking ugly because like I as long as I kept the interior clean, that's all that really impressed me.
So
And
it's funny
someone's gonna
because
judge
my
me for
outside
it.
looked cool.
Fuck them.
Like my outside was
Your
smooth.
inside was trashed.
Yeah, the leather had the peel.
Well, the
Yeah,
leather was
man.
peeling too, but at least like it wasn't like super dusty and like covered in leaves and shit all the time. Like
Yeah.
I would like vacuum it every now and then and like beat the carpets out and stuff. But like it's a good metaphor for like being a person too. Like the outside can look like shit right now, but like if as long as the inside is like pure and like your body is a temple, like
Your body is a
you're
temple. He used that one
yeah,
on.
you're good. Like because the way you treat your body on the outside doesn't really matter as long as the inside's good.
Yeah.
Like I've been smoking less, I've been drinking far less. I used to binge drink, and now like I don't really drink at all anymore, mostly because it fucks with my stomach.
Yeah.
But it's a win-win because like alcohol never really gives you like that like feeling of like joy that you get is like for an hour, and then you just have like a headache, or you just want to drink more or whatever, like and the looseness can become a problem too, like
Yeah.
because you'll start slipping like your words, and you're like, "Fuck!" Like that person did not need to hear me say that. You know, like
Or
I
you'll
just
start,
lost like a lot of respect.
yeah. Or you'll do the thing from earlier. You'll shit where you eat.
Exactly. Yeah, you'll like, hit on someone that you really shouldn't have because, and you knew it, but like because the judgment was down, like your guard is down. You're like, maybe there was something there.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, baby? And they're just looking at you like, no, this is weird. And then
Yeah,
nothing happens.
you should go home. You're drunk, pretty much.
Okay, I'll be right there. All right. The siren's call of dinner time is beckoning me, so I think we got a couple hours out of that.
Well,
So
yeah,
I'm down to.
it's been amazing. Dude, we got to do this again. It's been a blast just sitting here talking to you, dude. It's been amazing.
Yeah. I got time off during like the week as long as it's like Wednesday through Friday. So next time you need another guest and you don't have anybody lined up, I'm down for it. I enjoyed this too. So like it's been valuable experience.
Same here. The last thing I'll leave you with is make sure you send me your links that you want promoted with this, so I can, when I put it out,
Oh yeah.
everyone can see where they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, I'll put my audience on there. That's the only thing that matters to me right now.
Well, Knight, you take it easy, man.
You too. Later. And we'll be in touch.
Yes, indeed, indeed.
Word. I'm all right. Deuces.
Laters.